What the fuck? Like, what is it? October 24th? Why do we have fucking fireworks? I don't understand. All right. See, now the difficult part is, I wish there was like an easier way to like share it.
So should do we have to keep the YouTube page up to see comments?
I don't believe so. I believe it should just come up through the comments. If you click on the comments
in
tab.
I got it.
I'm pretty sure.
Highly professional. Figuring it out as we go.
Yeah. What a great intro to the show. Do you know how to do this? No. Do you? No.
Let me see. I'll try.
I talked to Kyle last night. Tim, how are you?
I'm good. I was a little hungover earlier today, so I'm just starting to feel okay now. That's where I'm at. I drank some Gatorade, feeling good.
Looking good, feeling great.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, it does pop up.
Oh, did you do a test? Oh, man, who's this guy? This isn't a fan.
This fucker. All right. So let me I'll just put this out. It's so much fucking work. This is why we don't promote anything, Tim. The amount of things you have to do to like.
Did you guys? I don't know if we've ever talked about it. Did you guys ever read Achewood?
I have not. No.
Oh man, we'll do it on the Greatest Comic Book of All Time at some point. I fucking love it. Like, if you're a grumpy dude, I feel like his sense of humor is like right there for like people slightly aggravated with the world. But he did like a series of zines that were called "Man, Why You Even Gotta Do a Thing." That is why everything's like, "Oh man, why you even gotta do a thing?"
Is that? Oh no, who writes that?
Gosh, what's his name? Hold on.
Chris Onstad.
That's him. Have you guys heard about this brain fog? It's like a side effect of COVID.
No.
Well, apparently, like, I mean, there's a zillion of like lung scarring, blah 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 blah.
Probably.
But they've been saying that there's a thing called brain fog, and like, I don't think that I've had COVID, but I certainly have the brain fog. I've been like on a streak of like getting things like I think I posted the promos for this and was like, this Saturday 2 Saturdays ago, like I'm like, everything I think is A is actually B. I don't know, is it like cognitive decline? Am I finally at that age where I'm like, fuck, I better start eating blueberries or whatever it is?
I think part of it is just like, I mean, I don't know like how much you're getting out of the house, but like even like I'm out pretty much every day because of work and stuff, and like I'm the only one that goes to the store, but it still feels like fairly weird. So I almost like detached from everything to the extent where I don't really pay attention. I don't know what day it is half the time. Like I can't remember if I did things, or didn't do things.
That was a large part of my life prior to the pandemic, but I did. A few weeks ago, I had to go to Barnes & Noble, and our Barnes & Noble is in the Grove, which is this huge like mall complex. I think they film, daytime talk shows there. It's crazy. So like I went there because that's where the nearest Barnes & Noble was. Because I didn't want to get something off Amazon. Who cares? And, like it was super crowded, which freaked me out because I was like, oh, I didn't know that I didn't know we did this yet, and also, like, I hadn't been, like, in a public-y place like that. Like, I mean, I go on the bike path, and I have, like, these sort of, like, private, excursions. but I hadn't been in like where people are like all around you and milling around. And I had one of those sort of like, like in the movie where they have the montage and they show like sweat starting to beat and like the heart starting to race. And like, I was like, oh man, I'm freaked out. I really have been out of it. It's going to be weird re-entering when we finally do. Who knows? Maybe asteroid. Can't tell.
Almost done with this stupid thing. And it was just like literally 5 minutes before that I realized I posted this week's episode, but I didn't like tweet it out or anything. I don't know if that matters, but
So I remembered.
No, I thought it would be funny if we how long could we go with like 3 people not talking for the people tuning in? What is? I'm sorry, Tim, I cut you off.
Oh, I remembered that I interviewed Pornsack and Aaron a couple years ago for the Outhouse, so I pulled up that.
Oh, right on. How was that?
Good. It was good. I remember them being really cool.
Yeah, they seem. I watched like a bunch of interviews to try and see if get some insight into it, and they seem cool. Because I was like, I still think I'm not going to be qualified to talk about this, but it shall be fine.
I know we talked about that the other day. 3 white dudes.
Oh yeah, I had the same thought. Well, I mean, you know what? Actually, I think they do a really kind of clever thing, and they sort of fracture it in a lot of different ways. So you're sort of looking at it from a lot of different angles. Include I thought I was nervous. I hadn't read it before, so as I was reading it, I was like, oh, I hope this doesn't just flatten to, sort of the least interesting version of the story. And they totally didn't. They made it, sort of nuanced. The people who had point of views that you didn't necessarily agree with, I think the mom is a great example of that. They weren't totally awful. They were just, like normal people, like halfway there, but not all the way. It's a process. You would imagine a year later she'd be kind of fully on board, So I thought it was I think it's open to a lot of points of view is my long way of saying that.
Yeah. Well, I guess before we get into it, I don't know. I guess we'll introduce ourselves again. I'm Kyle Overkill. Kyle, I don't know why I keep going with Overkill. I'm fucking good. One of the hosts of Pages and Panels, and I know. I think I say that. I don't know if it was on last stream where I've ordered at Domino's before, and my Google account is a link to it, and so I've gone in to pick up my order there, and I'm like, I pick up for Welch, and they're like, we don't have that, and they're like,
Mr. Overkill,
and they were like, Kyle Overkill, and I was like, oh, fuck, my pizza. But,
no, Mr. Overkill is my father. Just call me Kyle.
Oh, I shouldn't name my kid. I should just I don't know if you can change kids' last names. I don't know. I don't think you can. Probably not.
You made them. You should be able to do anything you want.
You think?
Yeah, they're your property.
It's true. I own. I can sell them whatever I want. But so yeah, one of the hosts, Pages and Panels, also one of the hosts of Greatest Comic Book of All Time that I read this week. I don't know. That's about it. That's about all I got going on. Who's next?
I was figured we were going down in order, so Jack.
Oh, I am Jack Foster at the Villainist on Twitter. I am the writer and artist, creator of the comic book Gun, and co-host on the Patreon-only Greatest Comic Book of All Time that I read this week with Kyle and Jack. Why is his name first? And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Alphabetical order.
Wait.
Yeah. That makes.
I had to say the alphabet, and I was like, I don't know right now.
I'm amazed, like how often I have to do it, especially like at Barnes and Noble, like things in alphabetical order. I'm always like MNOPQ and like.
I worked at a bookstore. I had the same thing. But you have to do that, right? You kind of have to walk through it.
Yeah. Dummies.
And
I'm Tim Madura. I'm one of the other hosts on Pages and Panels. Yeah, right there. There I am. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at right now in my life.
It's a good place to be.
Can we do this thing, Tim, where I like force pull you up?
All right. So much work to post all these things.
You need an assistant. You need a whole fourth guy that we don't see running the boards.
I know. Well, I need that. Something where you can just click one button and it goes to all of them at once.
Oh, you need a Buffer. This is all stuff we should talk about offline. But yeah, Buffer is what I use for Comics Pit and used to use for the Outhouse and stuff. Like you just punch in like one link and it sends it to Twitter or Facebook, wherever.
Oh, fuck. That's why we're the pros. Yeah.
Hey, if we were more professional, this content wouldn't be free.
Just seeing ahead. So we tested out last night, streaming when we did our greatest comic book of all time weekly show. I was able to get a little George Lopez image in there. Just to, I did it again when we recorded. This week's episode that went up for Pages and Panels was with Ian Mondrick and Benjamin. Oh, I'm gonna butcher his name. For two of the Red Horse, the current Kickstarter, and one of my favorite episodes are to do when Tim can't be there, because then I can like extend a bit further that we're actually going to talk about George Lopez, and I had planned it out, and Tim didn't show up.
Wait! So, this isn't a George Lopez podcast. This isn't a George Lopez.
No, I mean I do one, and Tim do one weekly, but
well, it's like when we interviewed the director of Jiu-Jitsu earlier this week, Dimitri Logothides, and Kyle and I don't think we talked about it beforehand, but I think we both just kind of came to the conclusion that we should not open with talking about George Lopez.
No, yeah, I mean we could pre-record it and put it in, but yeah, I was like that guy's not gonna have any time for that. He didn't have time for me to introduce you. He just went into it.
Jiu-Jitsu,
like,
that's the movie with Nicolas Cage, right?
Yeah,
it is.
Oh wow, that's quite a get.
Well, yeah, it's a get. I mean,
the movie was dope.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, that's a thing, and that's what's like fun. And I think I sometimes ignore it, or I just take it for granted. But like in the like quote unquote comics press, like if you get on those lists, like you just get emails all the time, like interview ops, and I don't even read half of them. And occasionally they are like a lot of them are for these like independent movies and stuff. So we should probably just say yes more often. Because those poor people have no choice. Like they're just forced into those things. They don't get to pick. It's like, it's just like publicist teams doing it, and they have no fucking idea. Like,
yeah, probably would think he's on the George Lopez podcast. Like, oh well.
Yeah, when the PR company was like, "Oh, he's like excited to talk to you," and I was like, "Why?" Like,
yeah. Like, generally not excited to talk to ourselves. Like, why? But so the idea of this show was a monthly get together for all the three of us, the Pages and Panels family, I guess. I don't know what it's called. But to do a book club for comic books. So this month, obviously being October, we wanted to do a spooky edition. So every month we put up a poll about the month prior. And so this month, what was it? It was The Empty Man, Nocturnals. What was the? I always forget the third one.
It was the Empty Man was the one I was thinking of.
Hold on, I got
It wasn't a Junji Ito book, right?
Oh, that's right.
It was Uzumaki.
Yeah,
That was it.
which I ended up reading anyway, by the way.
Oh, you haven't read before? I guess.
No, I saw the movie and had never read the manga.
Yeah, the movie's interesting. They're doing. I'm excited for the anime adaptation they're doing on Adult Swim, I think.
Oh, right on.
Which
I've been
should be
watching. It's kind of a gap that I never watched all. Did you guys ever see House? Not House, the Japanese movie from like.
Oh yeah,
70s?
yeah.
No.
Oh well, if you have, it's on like I think you can if you have a library membership, you can subscribe to Canopy with a K, and that will give you access to the Criterion library. And my two checkouts so far have been Destroy All Monsters and then now House. And I had never seen House, but I've always seen the artwork for it, and I was like, it's Halloween, I should watch it. And that is a kooky fucking movie, a la Uzumaki. I mean, that is I am in a constant state of like, I have no idea what to make about it. First of all, it looks like it was filmed in one house, and and it just takes one ludicrous jump after another. I don't know to recommend it though.
The center of the film poster has a cat.
Yeah, yeah. And it's got the big orange. No, first of all, great campaign, because you look at that poster and you're like, I want to see this, and like halfway through the movie, I'm like, no relation, but
yeah, it's like the wackiest like haunted house story. It's fucking.
Can I read you this line from Wikipedia?
Please do.
No directors at Toho were interested in directing the film as they felt it would end their career.
Yeah.
True. Although, if I understand correctly, it was a modest hit.
That's a Criterion movie.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's got that Janus logo that comes on in front of all the Criterion movies. I was like, well, this is going to be good, of course.
I'm not a big scary movie person because I don't like being scared. I don't like being scared. But I watched Midsummer for the first time this week, and I guess it's more like psychological than like scary. But it's a really fucking good movie.
Yeah, totally. I did you see did you see Hereditary?
No, but I think I'm gonna force myself to watch it. I know it's gonna be weird.
It's that one. We talked about this yesterday, actually. Like, there's House.
Boy, I'm bad at this.
Midsummer is like, again, it makes you feel like uneasy, and it's like full of tension, and there's like some really gross moments, but there's not a whole, like, it's a lot of like psychological and like atmosphere horror. Hereditary like fucked me up. Like, I haven't watched it again since, because like there's a few scenes in that where it's like that one is real fucking spooky. It's just as like unsettling and like dread filled as Midsummer, but like on the like closer to, I think, classical horror as well. Like, there's some moments in that just like it stuck with me. It's probably one of my favorite horror movies I've ever seen, but I don't know if I've watched it again.
I would agree. Tim, do you like David Lynch movies?
Yeah.
I think it's like if you take sort of the like creepier parts out of like David Lynch's movie, you know, where it's like a sustained sense of dread, you know, ominous music, murky stuff in the shadows. It's like that. I think you'll enjoy it. I thought it was like he's a great director. It's a great movie.
All right. Well, we're not a movie podcast.
We are tonight.
You'd probably make money if that's what you're doing.
Well, Infidel was optioned for a movie in 2018, so that's our segue.
What's this Infidel you speak of?
So yeah, I don't even know if we said that. The winner was Infidel.
Yeah, we didn't even mention what we're talking about.
Yeah, super distracted. Which was one that I think I had read maybe the like first 2 issues, and then I was waiting to buy the trade, never did. So when it got picked, I was excited to read it. Had you guys read it before?
Yeah.
You didn't, Jack?
No, I'm sorry. I shook my head. No, I did not. No, I came totally fresh to this, and really enjoyed it.
So I will quickly go over these professional. Be better if there was a quicker way to.
Oh wow, you made a slideshow.
Yes, yeah. Very professional slideshow. Although to actually read anything, I have to like.
It's in grandpa font on the phone.
Yeah. The fonts on PowerPoint are very limited. I could download more, but again, I don't. That's a lot of work. It was Image Comics. The writer was Pornstack Pichot. I watched a bunch. Artist Aaron Campbell, colorist, and the editor was Jose Villarrubia, and letterer and designer Jeff Powell.
You have him as the singer. Did he take away all the vocals?
What's that?
You misspelled designer, so I was just making a joke.
Oh,
hey, you know what? Actually, I thought this was the interior page from the comic. You did a great job there, Kyle. That's very professional looking.
Oh yes, very much. The singer would be a cooler title than like the singer of a band. Or I was gonna make a joke that it's like a Jamaican band.
I was thinking German was my go-to. I guess that would be like Der Singer.
Yeah. This is gonna be a tough one to summarize, maybe. Maybe not. I don't know.
I think it's a pretty straightforward plot.
All right, you do it.
Okay. A young married couple have recently moved into a tenant apartment building that has a history. We'll learn more about that later. While there, the young bride or wife, I guess they've been married for a little bit, she's moved in with her husband's daughter from a previous marriage. His wife has died. And his mother. She is a person of the Muslim faith. He is not. There's tension with her own family, who are, her mother in particular, very unhappy with her for choosing to marry a non-Muslim. And slight tension that we sort of like walk in on the ground floor in the book with the mother-in-law, who is mildly Islamophobic. And the husband is constantly like, avoid her. She's manipulative. Blah 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 blah. Over the period of time, she starts to have these increasingly more and more violent, gruesome visions. She's also on sort of like a battery of medication, so she's not sure if she's just having a bad reaction to her medication or if she's not getting enough sleep. And she begins to discuss these things with her friends. As the story progresses, we meet more people, friends of hers, and then also people who live in this tenement building. We learn more about the history of the tenement building, which was nearly destroyed when a incident with a bomb that is attributed to a Muslim young man who lived there before her, creating tension with the people who survived the first bombing around her identity, her religious identity. And as the story progresses, the hauntings become more and more intense and are not limited to like, ooh, the drapes and curtains are blowing, but become fully materialized in the real world. How's that?
Oh,
Yep,
that
that's good.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
It was it's more than I was just going to read the synopsis on the back of the trade.
Oh wait, we should probably do that. That's probably the Megan paid to do this for a living.
A horror tale for the 21st century, Infidel follows an American Muslim woman and her multiracial neighbors who move into a building haunted by entities fueled by xenophobia.
That's pretty much what.
Yeah, I mean, paraphrasing.
Yeah, and I saw some interviews and kind of going into it was like the idea being taking a haunted house story, which we've seen a lot of, or we see a lot of, and dropping it in like the current day world, and then kind of adapting it from there. And I think they do. I mean, get out of the way. I think they do an amazing job of it. This book is like genuinely unsettling in a way. I didn't think maybe that the comics could be in the horror sense. I think they are able to achieve something that I wasn't expecting, and something me and Tim like beat to death on the show is like horror and comics, and the difficulty of creating that kind of tension in him because of some things you lack based on prose or movies or stuff like that, and what comics do bring to the table in horror. I think they took advantage of that completely. I mean, it's something we can get into with the art with Aaron, but just the idea of him doing everything digitally minus the demons, the entities, these troubled people are all done. What do you call it? It's not physically. What's the term, Jack?
Analog.
Yeah. So those are drawn, and he uses like bleach and washes and stuff like that. So he's interjecting like physical drawings into these digital ones that really like. And I didn't pick up, like I picked up on it after I was reading, because there's such a jarring nature to them, not only in their design but just like their place on the page, and like reading more about it as I was doing it, like that idea is so brilliant because they've done it. It like really sets them apart when you see them, and I don't know if your brain picks up on it, but like subconsciously you're like, it's almost like that uncanny valley. So when you see them, it's like really unsettling.
Yeah.
So I interviewed creative team at San Diego a couple years ago, and I, like going through my interview, I asked them about something that we do harp on a lot: how do you translate horror to a static medium in comics? Something that Aaron said, quote, "What I think that ended up unintentionally doing was causing an effect like a jump scare. And we have a big reveal like in issue 1 where the lights go out, and Aisha's walking down the hallway. She turns the corner and you turn the page. There's the ghost, and suddenly it's a different comic all of a sudden because it's a different technique altogether." And I think like you were saying, that it's the combination of the digital and traditional processes that really make the book the best it is.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, like taking into account, I mean, that's one thing you can do obviously in comics, is take into account the page turns, but I think even then it's difficult. But I think that in combination with like not expecting kind of the presentation of these entities, I think really is like a 1-2 combo for it.
I think it's either the first or second manifestation where the hanging eyeball So like you've said, everything is in these sort of cool tone monotones, and all of a sudden you have this ghost, which is pretty gruesome looking, and they're in these sort of really, like you said, the red, they're fluid like, colors, very bright, very saturated, very intense, and the painting style is, it's very different from the rest of the artwork. So, like in one panel, she sort of sees him, and it's big and it's green, and they're just fucking monstrous looking, as you can see, little goblin there. And then like he's got his eyeball just sort of dangling off of whatever that eyeball stand or stalk is called. And then in her panel, because like all the panels of them are just sort of them in these sort of Technicolor landscapes, but then it crosses over into hers, and she's actually getting thwacked in the face by this eyeball, and it's so powerful. I mean, it's really it's the thing that you're saying. It makes it a visceral experience because you are processing it like like it's an intense scene, so you're reading as quickly as you can. But you're the transition from point of view to being in the same frame makes it like more menacing because it's getting closer. It's becoming more real. Super, and I like you guys said, it's very hard to it's hard to engineer. I think a lot of mood in movies is sustained through music, and you don't have that with comics. So you have to kind of you have a more limited toolbox. But like the creative team shows, if you are clever and if you really think about what you're doing, that toolbox can be just as effective. Because those monsters are as horrifying as anything I in the movie.
Yeah, and I think like added obviously kind of the way he approached them with the design, like the actual look of them is like each one is different, and as you progress in the story, I think it gets. I mean, obviously, like all of them look weird and grotesque, but then when you find out more about kind of the history of them and the purpose of them and why they're there, like each one is representative of not only like kind of their hate and bitterness, but then also like how they died. So they're all deformed and designed in a way to kind of tell a story in itself. So like the idea that these things are kind of brought to life by such like extreme anger and hatred and bitterness, and then the death due to the explosion, and how that like not only physically altered them but like emotionally altered them when they died, creates these like really fucked up like looking ghosts or demons.
Yeah.
And I think and we kind of touched on it, like going into it and kind of like talking about the idea of, as three white guys talking about race issues could be, I would imagine, difficult. But I think stories like this are able to present it and allow you to process it in a like meaningful way. And I think not only does Pornsack create like really engaging and real characters, like it helps you kind of identify with the struggles, and then he tackles, I think, race on multiple levels and issues. Obviously, you have the mom, which I think Jack, you touched on a little bit. I like that she was clearly had presented some Islamophobic issues prior, but she was, as it was presented where they were currently in the story, like she was working through that, because I think as she spent more time with is it Aisha? Not Aisha. Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
Aisha. Yeah.
Like I think she, and the way she was able to interact with her granddaughter and kind of talk through things, like it felt like throughout the story, she was kind of over it and was getting over it and working through it. And even that was interesting because I think the story was leading you to think she wasn't, but she clearly like kind of was. Like every time she was given a kind of out to dislike her, she didn't take it, and she would be like generally on her side. And then you had like the son, the husband, who was constantly fighting with the idea that his mom might be Islamophobic, and like he doesn't want to deal. So it's like kind of a lot of different things. And then even Medina, who is African American Muslim, and kind of dealing with not only that, but then like people confronting her on her possible racism. Like it was interesting to kind of see all that tackle and kind of bleed into this horror story, which horror, in a lot of cases, that's it, tackling social issues is kind of the point of it a lot of times.
Yeah, I think like Get Out, Lovecraft Country, Bitterroot. I think that there are a lot of people making that sort of like making those correlations. I think like, so this is like, as we described it, a haunted house story, but like it's called Infidel, and the main protagonist is a young Muslim. Like the cover features a girl in a hijab, so clearly that's a part of it. And I thought going into it that like this was going to be more along those lines, where the spectral menace is like merged with xenophobia. And there's an element of that, and that's kind of tied into the ending. So I'll bracket that. But I thought like I thought the thing that they did really like kind of superbly, like you're saying, I think, what did the back of the book say? It's a multicultural past. So you have people with varying degrees of like relationships. There are people who are lovers and people who are family. And then you have people who are friends, and you have people who are neighbors. So like the rings of how connected these people are go further out. And there's a lot of and the cast, the larger cast, is it's a couple people who are white, it's a couple people who are Asian, it's a couple people who are, I think there's there a lot of, as you mentioned, the Black Muslim best friend. So there are a lot of different points of view, and I think rather than taking like a sort of dogmatic, this is the right way to view everything, what the story does is it works like a kaleidoscope, and it shows you how when these different people in these different tiers interact with each other, what sort of those interactions look like. And it's hard to not feel like reflected in some of them, sympathetic to some of them, less sympathetic to others. Like the thing that the story I think should be really, really applauded for is it never, I mean, in maybe with one exception, it never flattens anybody to being just sort of like, mustache twisting, like I hate all Muslims or Black people or whatever. It keeps it more nuanced, because the people who think of themselves as sort of not being racist and enlightened, including a proto-Karen later in the I think third or fourth issue, the mom is kind of sets the tone for that. They're not full on Islamophobic in that they have prejudices, but there are fears and motivators that influence them, that work under the scenes so that they don't necessarily know that it works this way. And the story both presents these people without judging them, and then also points out sometimes, like, when characters discuss other characters, like, did you notice how she said those people? Like, it keeps it in our minds, but it doesn't, it doesn't belabor it or hammer it in a way that's like, because the counterpoints and points that they bring up are frequently, like, look, these are the facts as I understand them. I wouldn't judge this girl differently if she was white. They're logical in certain assessments, and that's how the world works. The world is full of people who get halfway there. I should say it's an evolution. People are constantly evolving, myself included. We're all sort of like hopefully getting a little better at understanding other people and their points of view. Boy, I talked a lot. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, like you said, it doesn't make it. Nobody's really one-dimensional. There's, I mean, even in it's 5 issues, and in those 5 issues, you really get to feel that there's some depth to all the characters, which I think is just very, very strong storytelling.
And if I can add one thing to the, sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
What? Oh no, you go ahead.
Oh, If I could add one thing to that, sort of the like the Chekhov's gun in the story is this bombing that occurred, and we get more storytelling around it, and we get to understand it and see it a little more. Obviously, it plays in with why these people are haunting them. But the lingering question about it is this like the act of a terrorist? Was this guy part of was he a terrorist? Like, obviously for the Muslim characters, there's politicization around whether, well, like if a person who is Muslim commits a crime, does it automatically mean that they are a terrorist and they are automatically guilty? And that never, I may have not read it fully enough, but I feel like that's never completely, you don't know if he is also sort of under the influence of the house in ways that he can't help, or if he, and the sort of the question of, I mean, I think like for everyone in America, there's this sort of like, because of the American press and the way that things are handled, there's a way that like America processes Islam and the Muslim faith and people who are Muslim, and that's always so like connected at the hip to these acts of violence that are very highly publicized and are used to speak for a lot of the Muslim faith. So like the fact that they never resolve that, like there's a tension that everybody responds to this idea of violence regardless of what the actual practicing Muslims do in their actual life. I think that's smart, clever, and treats us as readers like adults.
Yeah, one of the characters says about the Muslim resident who was just keeping explosives in his apartment. They said he was just a nut, not some sleeper agent. It wasn't even a suicide bombing. There are theories he was even surprised when the bombs went off.
Yeah. I feel like it's and when we do later in sort of a kind of flashbacks meet him, and in those interactions it's very hard to tell what's going on inside like his head, and we don't see him the way we see other characters interacting with these spectral creeps.
Yeah, I think when you get to that final issue, and you see like the way they can kind of interact and affect people, and obviously kind of the underlying idea that other people's bitterness or hate can obviously affect people's own motivations. But I think that was like one of the most interesting things, as well as like, I mean, this team is able to cover these really lofty social ideas and then wrap it in this horror story. But the story itself is actually like really interesting and engaging. Like you said, I mean, as you progress through the story, like you said, the way it's presented, you're questioning again whether this was something that was always going on in this house, and the bomber, was affected by that as well, or was it like a precautionary thing? Like what was pushing this guy? And then there's even like the element of the occult, the guy studying the occult in the building, and so then like the two neighbors go to explore that, which was like a cool B story, and that you get kind of like the element of like what is or could be happening in this house, where like when there's such a like rift of hate and violence and anger that happens, like it can like create a rift in the world and essentially create these beings. And so like that stuff was interesting as well, and it's like all kind of told together in this like really nice tight package. And like, I don't know, I guess we can do a little bit, but like, I mean, the end is like not, it's satisfying, but it is like a classic kind of like downer-ish ending.
Yeah. Body count gets high. And that also is sort of like surprising, because the sort of the steeped in naturalism that the first few issues have leads you to think that like, oh, these are just a bunch of Brooklyn hipsters. Nothing bad is going to really happen. Like, they're going to solve the problems of racism, and that'll make the ghost go away. And that, like, in an escalating fashion, does not happen and does not happen and keeps not happening. And then the Scooby Gang part is fun, and I kind of wish like fun and a little underexplored. Like it would have been nice to have a little more of their, especially when they meet the weird guy. I forget his name. With the shirt, who starts telling them about the Ghostbusters scheme. 5 more pages of that would have been delightful.
Kyle, as an upstate New Yorker, do you get pleasure out of seeing New York City people die?
Oh yeah, I can't stand these liberal city people. Yeah, that would never happen in this upstate New York setting. I wonder if, so I like Tim mentioned it being an option for a movie, and I've seen them talk about it a little. And even that, like, I do wonder in like a movie setting if that is something, would that give them more time to explore, or, cause I'm trying to think like at this pace across the movie, either would it like adding something need to be done, or would it be like a symptom of it would lose something time wise? I don't know. It's like it's so well paced in the story, so I don't know. It's always tough to like tell what an actual like runtime type thing would be. Because me and Jack talked yesterday, and I don't know if you saw it. Tim, did you see the trailer for The Empty Man?
No, I haven't yet.
It's interesting. It doesn't even look like and,
great set direction.
And obviously that was my, like, I presented that pick on the thing, and that's like one of my all-time favorite comics for horror, and it didn't even look like it. I didn't know what it was. I'll have to go back. No, I just reread it. It didn't look anything like it, but, and that could be something like, adapting it a completely different way. That's fine. But I think this story would only work in this very specific sense. Like, almost like, I mean, The Grudge is kind of that idea. Like, or a lot of Japanese horror is that, where the ghosts are brought to life due to like an anger or an injustice. Like, and I think it's The Grudge, she was murdered and raped, I think, or something. I don't remember. It's been a while. But,
Yeah.
And then like Ringu, she was. I don't know. I think the American one ends up being evil, but like, there's always kind of a like darkness behind why these ghosts are haunting people, and that's very much kind of like
sudden violent death. I think is like that's even in Western. I think that's the main thing behind ghosts, is like you have some unresolved business. Your death was, you don't even know you're dead.
I think it's the main plot. Ghost Dad.
Yeah. Do you think this would be a good? I know that he's on everybody's mind because of Haunting of Bly Manor, but do you think this would be a good
show?
What's
show
his name?
Versus movie? Oh,
Michael Flanagan. Because I feel like this is like totally in his wheelhouse. I think that there is a way to sort of expand this out by going into some of the side characters. Like, you can have an episode devoted to Medina. You can have an episode devoted to some of the other characters we meet along the way. And it has that sort of like he sort of loves extraneous jump scare that does not actually have anything to do with the plot, and is quickly moved past. So I feel like he could I feel like this is I think this would really work as a Netflix as a Michael Flanagan next Netflix joint.
Yeah, because I think
horror movie.
I mean, one of the best things about, I mean, Hill House, and at least for Bly Manor, because I mean, Bly Manor it's obviously less spooky. It's more of a gothic horror, but it's still engaging because like they spend so much time with these characters and really flesh them out. And they're like, he's willing to kind of be very fluid with the timeline and jump back and forth, So you could see something where like a whole episode is like, this interaction with the mom, because we don't get to see what that previous like um, altercation was. So you could do that. You could jump back and forth, and then like at the very end of the episode, or ever like every so often, jump to these ghosts. Like, because like again, they're not. I mean, not until the end really. They're not like they're an ongoing threat, but they're not like a huge presence in it. Like even when the mom dies and the kid's injured, like it's like they scare her into doing it. It's not like they're the cause of it, really, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. That also gets like the rules of what ghosts can do start again. It's nested in because I think it's such a like there's a kind of a quietness to the earlier parts of it where you like. I guess it's because it's they're presenting certain types who live in this tenement house, and you just kind of think like, oh, this is almost like the Friends group, like what terrible things are going to happen to these guys, and then it's like, oh, it's a ghost. They'll just a little woo, and then things will be okay. And then like people start getting dismembered. And you're like, whoa, like some feisty ghosts.
I love these like Frank Miller-esque ghouls
the talking heads
on the TV.
Boy, I love a TV cutaway.
Yeah, and everyone like every time they cut to these type of people, it literally looks like Dark Knight, like those awful ghoulish like TV people. Like this lady
is that Anne Gould?
Looks like a fucking ghost.
It's what in the age of like digital media, like because I love these things and I use them in my own not a plug. And like I sometimes put them in sort of the TV screen, the soft corners, and I'm like, nobody watches TV this way. And also, people don't get their news this way. You should use tweets. And I'm like, no, it's not about news as media. It's about referencing Frank Miller. Because also, like when I'm designing them, I'll look up like, well, what do they look like so I can match what the studio looks like. And you're like, oh no, it would have a Chiron at the bottom, like Comic Book Club, Infidel. And like they have all these things all around it, and like you would. Only a little bit of, and I'm like, oh, screw all that. Sorry. Sorry, one more thing.
You like the CNN,
I have the YouTube on another. I have two things because I'm a professional. Two monitors, sorry. And so I have the YouTube over here. So I keep looking over, and there's like a delay, and it's so weird. Like every time I see it, I get creeped out. Like, am I dead? What's wrong? Sorry. More amusing to me than probably the rest of you.
Now Kyle and I are just running to pull up YouTube to watch weird delays.
No, it's funny because like sometimes I'll be like, just face forward listening normally, and then other times I'll be really animated, and I'll be looking over like, what is going? Why is that guy acting like that? I'm not doing that. Did we lose Kyle? Oh, I think we did. He's been very engrossed.
Working on his acting. He's just very stoic.
Kyle, we didn't even know you were gone.
Oh yeah, I saw it. I was like, no, they wouldn't even.
So sorry to pick up. You scrolled over to these great flashback pages.
Yeah, I really like that.
Wait, what happened?
The change in style.
Okay.
Yeah, and it recurs later, which is a nice touch.
It's like a good representation because I think in like this panel or this part of the series, they use it as like a kind of how to tell this like parable in this story with her, but like later on when you see she's kind of, I don't know, come to terms with everything that's happened, but like she sees this like younger version of herself, and like kind of as a resolution for it, which I thought was like a cool take on it later on.
So can I ask you guys a question about the end?
Yeah.
So this is going to be very spoilerific. Although if you've ever seen a horror movie or read a horror comic, you know that the final panel is going to be the ghost is not gone. So we see after to sort of keep it not too spoilery, after the building is cleansed, we see some people poking around, and we see another ghost. Are we to think that that is one of the characters that we have already met? Like, is that a new person caught in the cycle of like being overwhelmed by hate in their moment of death and then carrying that out?
I mean that's what I thought, but then like I don't know who it would be. I guess I don't know. Maybe the husband.
Well, I was gonna I'm giving it away. I was like, it's
Oh.
yeah. I think it's the husband, right? Is what we're meant to think, because he is the most sort of like completely agitated in the moment and not knowing what's happening, and sort of being in the thrall of like much like the person who died before him, who is the sort of haunting that is affecting Aisha. He died in a moment of like it's very agitated and very particularly racially agitated, and that happens again for. And it's weird because it seems like the ghosts or the specters feed that. Like when it's happening in a person, their presence makes it get more and more elevated, so that like just being angry turns into like a murderous rage, and then that murderous rage seems to live on, possibly because of the magical hoodoo going on in the house.
Yeah, I think especially because up until that point, like again, they interacted with characters or they caused violence and harm, but like you can see here, obviously, kind of spoilers. Its head's missing. Like it gets fairly violent fairly quick at that point, and I was like, well, this like escalated quickly, and it is then like escalated even more by his like appearance, and then like he's pushed to like such anger. I was like, well, that's like I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know what my reaction would be, but then I was like, he seems like really super angry. But then you see again, then like there's that one page of it sitting on his shoulders, kind of like whispering in his ear.
Yeah.
So yeah,
driving his
I would
rage.
have to imagine. Yeah. Which again, like I think as like the bigger idea of like, hate leading to more hate and kind of pushing people on and all this stuff, even in itself is interesting. But just as like a ghost story, like they're again kind of continuing their own history and cycle by like creating this new ghost. So as they kind of are, like you said, cleansed, now he is kind of pushed into this afterlife cycle. And that poor fire inspector.
Yeah. Who in his like he doesn't know what's about to happen to him, but he's got this cocky sort of jut of his hips, and it's a great like things aren't gonna go great for you, sir.
He is like grabbing his belts. It's like
it's got the Han Solo pose. Hey, I want to put it out to the anyone watching. Hey, feel free to comment. We can see your comments, and we'll incorporate them into the show. And as Bill, if you have any fun ghost stories, be sure to like. We definitely want to hear them, because it's that time of year, right?
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
So. Yeah, right.
I do want to know. There's a poll quote on the back of issue 5. It's from Shoot the Breeze Comics. What is that? I gotta look this up. You familiar with Shoot the Breeze Comics?
No.
Is that a store? What were you saying, Jack, before I derailed for this stupid bit?
Nothing. That was. Wait, who? Do I not know who Shoot the Breeze Comics is? Or I don't know who Shoot the. Do we know them?
No, I don't know who it is. Comic Tom tell me.
Either of you guys ever end up on a pull quote?
I know you'd mentioned that. Yes.
Oh,
I have, I think 2 or so, and of course, in the ever-present like comics press, where you don't get paid and you don't get anything out of it. I think both of them, if not, I might have 3, are all credited to the site or group or something. Like, it doesn't say like Kyle Welch, isn't that? It's just my quote from reviews from the site. So,
that's too bad.
There's that free exposure everybody wants.
I used a couple pull quotes. I think both of them were backers, but the third person who was not a backer, I sent them a copy because that's the right thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely
I have not. Well, there was something I was reading recently, and I can't remember the title of it, but it had a pull quote from The Outhouse, and then I went on The Outhouse to see if I wrote that review, but I could not find the review, so I was shocked.
Do you think they just made it up and attributed it? Like, oh, those guys at The Outhouse won't check.
Maybe. I got to do some research and figure this out.
You can always check. There's what's the one site that's like a review aggregator? I can't think of it. It's not gonna come up on camera.
Comic Book Roundup?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quoted in the Brass Sun hardcover.
Oh.
What is it? Opens strong and finishes even stronger. Praise be to the cog. Praise be to Brass Sun. That's not a bad one. It's one of my shitty jokes that made it in. I love even that. Like they never ask you for those things either. Like you'll get asked. I think I got asked for Copra was maybe the one I got asked for, but outside of that, I don't get that.
Oh wow! You put a pull quote on Copra or Copra? Is it Copra or Copra?
I think it's Copra. I'm on like a preview or something that went out to somebody when he switched to Image. The editor reached out to me. I think it was, if you're not reading Copra, you fucked up. Or something like
that. He's got 2 issues coming out. He's got 2 self-published issues coming out later this year. Very excited to see. I love it when guys get a high profile, but then come back to the work that they. I keep hoping Matt Fraction will come back to Casanova.
He put out that panorama. It's like Panorama, something like that. It's like a horror comic he did as well.
It's a. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's an old one he was re-putting out, or
I'm pretty sure he's been able to re-release a few of them, which has been cool.
Good on us.
Those things are expensive.
Yeah. I was putting.
I occasionally check. I don't have Cobra 1. I had the opportunity to buy it when it came out, and my friend, I just read his back when it was coming out, because that thing goes for a shit ton of money.
I think it's 200 print run or something.
Yeah, and he doesn't have any. I talked to Michelle once about it. I was like, that's gotta suck to not own it and know how much money it goes for.
Well, I found the quote. It's just attributed to the Outhousers. It's on an Atomic Robo trade.
Oh, I love that. I love Atomic Robo.
And the quote is, "Another tale of intrigue and super science with laughs."
Does it sound familiar to you? Does it ring a bell?
No.
There's an Outhouse's one in this Brass Sun one too.
Oh, really?
Did you read Brass Sun? Did you review it?
I don't think so.
Stunning and worthy of award consideration. This is beautiful and captivating comic book, and one that should garner plenty of attention in best of articles at the end of the year. That doesn't sound like Tim.
Garner.
No, I think that was Christian Hoffer, who now writes for comicbook.com, which I think they recently. I just dunk on comic book all the time because they just do like fast food. Oh yeah, so their Taco Bell is launching an all new veggie cravings menu, and I was like, what does that have to do with? Like, I understand you're getting paid from Taco Bell or whatever to run this, but yeah, it's just.
Well, we know the Yum brand. I don't know. Are they still Yum brand? I don't know if that's the owner, but me and Jack covered the amazing KFC crossover.
Crisis crossover.
So, I don't know.
I don't know if the Taco Bell crossover is going to be as exciting.
Well, they don't have a character now that they got rid of the racist dog. Like, I don't know who they would have. Oh boy. I don't know. Do we have any final thoughts on the book before we're getting easily distracted by other things?
By dunking on comicbook.com.
It's a really well done book, and I think it really uses the medium well with the scares and the tension. I'm curious to see how that would be translated to a movie or TV series. Because it could just be like another generic horror movie or TV show. That would be kind of a letdown if that happens.
Yeah, I think I think a lot depends on who comes on board to, put it together. I think that there is an appetite now. I think mostly because of Get Out. I think there's an appetite now for sort of like smarter horror that maybe marries to racial and political tension. Like, I think that just was such a knocking it out of the park. And Lovecraft Country works the same ground in a lot of ways. So I think there's definitely like an appetite for it now. The thing though, I think is the thing that I think is really, really super kind of effective about this book is not really even the horror. Like, I think the horror is great and certainly effective, but it really in short strokes gets to what people are genuinely like. And I think the mom, to zero in on the mom in particular, she's I feel like I know that lady. Like, I know versions of that lady. And when you can see a character and instead of feeling like I don't know, maybe it's the same for you guys. Like, whenever I teenagers in comic or in anything, in books, movies, TV, I'm always like, this is like no teenager I've ever met. It was like no kid I've ever been around.
Because it's written by a 50-year-old man.
Yeah, radical. So usually what happens is the opposite. You read characters and they don't feel authentic. And then I thought that with not just the mom, but the mom particularly, and a lot of other characters, I was like, I know this person. This is a person I can, and I think when you know somebody, empathy occurs. The characters seem more real and they come off the page in a way. So the horror bits are great, but the people, his eye for who people are is X-ray vision. Amazing.
Yeah, I think
both. I was like, is Kyle frozen again?
Um, as a story and something as kind of like a character study, it's like even if you took away the horror elements, I think it's extremely well done, and it's one of the best examples of, I think, capturing people. But then also, it happens to be, I think, one of the best uses of horror in the medium. And again, I can't think of anything. Maybe who's the guy who did the Sandman covers? Jack.
Dave McKean?
Dave McKean.
Yeah, like using kind of like cutout pictures and even like dioramas he created for stuff like that. Yeah. And I know the person who did the covers for that Dollhouse book, if you've seen any of those, that person actually, like, all those are actual images that person made of kind of like dioramas with it. But I think the combination of this, and I think why those like Sandman covers always kind of stuck out as well. Having that creates like that uncanny valley, but in an actual good way, versus like Spy Kids 3D or something, where it's just like genuinely yeah, go ahead. You can talk about Spy
on the
Kids
McKean
3D
thing. I joined the McKean group on Facebook. Oh man, talk about bummer. Because it's like, they post all these like all these things that you never hear about coming out, like rare book folio editions and things like that. And I guess he had done like an illustrated edition of Stephen King's Night Shift, and the art is like, it's like you're describing. It's super creepy and modulated, and like there are plates for each of the stories, and like it's fucking gorgeous. But it was like this rare limited edition. Like I had never even heard of it, and I feel like I have an ear to the ground for his stuff. So like I went looking, I was like, well, let's see if this is like $300, like if you can find it on Abe Books. And I'm like, oh, fuck that. But then they also showed some photographs of those covers that you're talking about, where they're built, they're like shadow cabinets, and they've got weird things and paintings in the middle. But there were pictures of them from like the side, so you could kind of like, they were like instead of being like this finished piece of art, they were like, it was like, it looked more like an assemblage of things, and it's just so cool looking. It's spoopy.
Oh, I can't zoom in on that. That was a waste.
Sorry. So yeah, no, and I think that like the later when the ghosts morph a bit, and they're composite creatures or things or specters, like the way they are connected is also sort of like different artistic trickery is going on there. And it's a great effect. A totally great effect. Love it.
Oh God, I figured out how to bypass the video thing. Like I don't mean to derail, but like, have you read The Empty Man? Has anybody read it?
I have not. Oh, is this the Empty Man trailer?
Yeah. It's like, so like the it's like, I mean, if anyone's familiar with Vanessa Ardell, like her art is like some of the most beautiful art, and like it's creepy, and she's able to like create such atmosphere, and then you get this that's just like say his name, and I don't know, it's the guy that looks like a shitty Luke Evans. I don't know what his name is.
No, that's his IMDb, shitty Luke Evans.
What is that guy? He's someone shitty in a movie. I can't think of it. Oh, Iron Man 3.
Is he the
right?
a guy who keeps blowing up, the Russian guy?
Yeah. That's who he is. All right, I'll take it back because I love Iron Man 3. I'll go see this movie. Although I didn't know we were doing. Me and Jack were talking about that yesterday. I didn't know we were doing theaters again until I saw this, and it was like in theaters. And then I checked mine and like local listings, and we have like local listings for theaters. So I don't know. I mean, again, if they were like so many feet apart from people, like, which would be ideal, honestly. Like if there was,
can we keep this after the pandemic?
I know, like if there's like we have a movie theater. I don't know, maybe it's like 25 minutes away, and I will go to it all the time because it's one of those like deluxe theaters where it has like reclining seats and it has like
Yeah.
this much space in between you, and like it folds out to like a bed almost. Like it's like the greatest thing. I go by myself all the time. Like I'll just go like late at night and go see a movie. Well, not now, but like so if there was like 10 people in between me, I don't know, that might be ideal. Like that was the one thing weird about reading this story was like whenever I've lived in apartments, this is the first house, the house I own now and we had built is the only house I've ever lived in. I've always lived in like apartments. Um, and I never once wanted to talk or know who my neighbors are. So it's like whole thing where they're like friends. It's like, what the fuck is wrong? That's the real horror story. It's like talking to people. So.
Kyle, ever been in a haunted house?
Like an actual, yeah.
No, like that. You don't know.
I was
like a house
I
that is
played,
haunted, or like a.
Yeah.
I was
have you ever lived in a haunted? I said Kyle, but it's to both of you.
Yeah, I've lived in a house that was supposedly haunted. I never experienced anything. I don't generally. I think we talked about this last month. Like I don't. There's nothing I subscribe to belief wise or anything that would lend me to like canonically believe in ghosts. But I also want to take a fucking chance. So like I don't fuck with it. But like I don't believe in a soul. I don't believe in like any of that shit. So like I don't see how there would be ghosts. I could see that there's like I would more subscribe to the theory that there's like bleeds in like a multiverse where we're seeing like an alternate universe and it's like bleeding over or something like that. But
did you see the Animatrix? Did either of you guys see the Animatrix?
Yeah.
I was
it's been a long time.
The glitch in the Matrix that presented as a haunted house.
Yes.
Yeah. So like that, I agree with that.
Yeah, and so I live in like upstate New York. So there's like a shit ton of like old ass houses, and we live in. We had lived in Saratoga, which is like famous old town, and they try and keep it as old as possible. So we rented this apartment that was in this humongous like mansion, and we extensively lived in like kind of like what used to be the slave quarters. It was like off. It was like off on the side, and it like went up, and it was behind the house, and it was like small. And it was so we rented from the lady who lived in the mansion, and we just like lived in this shitty $700 apartment. But and we could like out our window we could see her beautiful backyard with this in-ground pool and all this shit, and it's like one bedroom or whatever. But anyway, so my wife all the time, she would say she experienced stuff like she would come home and my exercise ball would be like up on the bed, which like there's no way it would get up there. So that was her thing. I never experienced anything. I've been a character in a haunted house. I've been an actor in a haunted house.
Oh, I almost got to do that.
And when I was a kid, I got to play. Well, I played Pugsley, which as a kid's not great self-esteem. You can be the fat, gross kid.
Well, as Infidel points out, I don't think white guys can see ghosts. So maybe that's the issue, Kyle.
It's true.
So the house that
privilege.
The house that I grew up in, my parents' current house, the guy who built the house, Mr. Goodman, died in the house, in what was my little brother's room growing up. So
I made sure you lucked out.
Yeah, as the bigger brother, I was like, I'm not taking that. And so I would like see. I'm like Kyle. I don't ascribe to anything, but like I would see like weird shadows and stuff like that I couldn't explain. And then there'd be like weird noises, and even to this day, if there's like a weird noise coming from a room that like nobody's in, my mom will be like, "It's okay, Mr. Goodman, you can stop," and then like the noise will stop, and I'm just like, life's weird, man.
Oh, what about your little brother? Did he ever like see any ghosts or things?
Yes, he doesn't really like talking about it, which is understandable.
That's best rule number one for ghost stories is when they're like, I don't like talking about it. They're like, oh, this is gonna be good.
So like I've heard some stuff here and there. Like you would also see like shadows and things like that. But my mom is very spiritually in tune, I should say, and is very welcoming to ghosts, which is not the approach I take.
Like I wouldn't believe, like I don't see why there would be, but if my options are don't believe, which doesn't affect me either way, or at least believe to where I don't have to deal with it because I'm going to be smart and not deal with it, I would rather do that.
My family also, my grandmother in particular, she is morbidly obese and just could not wait to get to her. She believed in reincarnation, so she could not wait to get to her like next life. So like from the point at which like I knew her, she was like obsessed with death, and she loved. Do you guys know what automatic handwriting is? Where you like it's like kind of like a Ouija board, but instead of using the Ouija board, you would put your hand kind of limp and like with a pen in it, and you would write. And Edgar Casey, America's spiritual leader, he I guess used to do that. The ghost will write through your hand. She would like do long sessions of that, talking to the spirit world. All this stuff was like going on around me when I was a kid. And like when you're a kid, like, I mean, now I think it's cool what a cool like family to grow up with. It's like being Adams. But when you're a kid, that stuff is like ghosts are very real to you, you know, like, so like that stuff was fucking terrifying to me. And one time my family, my grandmother, my aunt, and my mom were doing the Ouija board as they do, and my aunt wants to talk to Elvis, and so they're like trying to reach out and get Elvis to talk to her, and I don't know if he ever came through, but my aunt tells the story that that night she went to bed in the house, and while she was sleeping, one side of her body was like cold all night. And we live in Florida, so that doesn't happen. And she woke up the next day and she's like, I think it was Elvis. I think Elvis slept with me. But I think it was another ghost pretending to be Elvis.
If you're a ghost, that's like such a good idea. It's like no one's going to find it.
I know, right? Yeah, no. My grandmother said that she saw a few ghosts, but she described them like once in her room, she saw an Indian, Native American, I should say, head appear above her like while she was in bed, and she like again like now I think like well she's kooky, but at the time like I was terrified, like legit. I was, because then I inherited her room, so like that room was my room when I was young, and like I would like turn out the light, run, get in bed, and then like keep my eyes closed. Like I was so afraid of seeing a ghost, and like as a side effect, I was afraid of the dark. Like this is not an exaggeration. Well into my teens, you know, because like I was your imagination is so overactive, and like I remember slumber parties just being like, oh, you know, not slumber, you know, you stay over with friends and stuff.
Yeah,
just being like, I can't handle it, you know, like. But then I think like I think when I was in high school, I started reading Stephen King, and like that like gets like it's like. If you have ADHD, you take Ritalin and it super focuses you. So I think if you're like anxious and scared and you read Stephen King, like it focuses that and it makes you sane.
I was gonna say, Jack, what's that behind you?
No, now I wish. Now I love ghost stories. I love hearing ghost stories. I am skeptical of some of them because you have to be, but like I'm always on the lookout for like a story that kind of passes all the tests, and you would think like, oh, this feels real. Oh, what's that? Is that the Psycho House? Is that the house you grew up in, Tim?
No.
Yes, that was haunted.
There's the house in this town, Ballston Spa. It's like right outside Saratoga. When I grew up in Ballston Spa, I was going to high school. And this house is called the Crandall Mansion. It is literally like, so if you're looking at this, like where you can kind of see the house, like essentially right behind it is the elementary school. So in this house, I'm trying to think. I can look at it. It's on here. I don't remember what year it is, but there was a quadruple homicide, or
Ooh.
was this lawyer from another town who lived in this house. He killed his like wife, his mother-in-law, and his stepdaughter, and then shot himself. So then they turned this house into like one of those where all the rooms are apartments, like they do in like old houses. So like people stay here, all like rent apartments in here, and I've known friends who've rented in there, and they've claimed it's like super haunted.
I
and
don't
like
doubt it.
in this like up top window here, people see like a woman all the time or something. There's a few in the town of Saratoga that are like this, and I had a friend who a similar house like this. Had tons of stories of like people died, and she lived at the very top apartment in this studio, and I would go like hang out with her like late until the night, and I would leave there at like 1 p.m. And again, like I don't believe in ghosts, but I would fucking sprint from the top floor like, all the way down and like kick out this door. And like again, like there's all these apartments, and it was like this beautiful house, but like I would just be like fucking sprinting down these hallways. I'm like, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, no, people believe in ghosts in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I don't necessarily believe a serial killer is going to kill me, but I'm going to lock my door. Like, I don't know. So I don't know for November, get like a Thanksgiving pick. I don't think there's Thanksgiving comics. Could do a food-based comic.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah.
It chew.
Yeah, or maybe a team book. It's like family. I don't know. I'm stretching there.
I will put it out to our listeners. If you have any suggestions for books that we should read in book club, it doesn't have to be because you don't want to. Like, it doesn't have to be Thanksgiving if you don't want it to be.
If you're not American, yeah. No fucking idea what it is. I will say, Tim.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, that's so dope.
Yeah, this one, the Foot Soldier and Baxter Stockman came today.
I reread for Halloween.
The Eaters,
which is a nice. It's a cannibalism story, so it's great for Thanksgiving.
We did. We just keep the spooky month going.
Halloween all year round.
Well, I was thinking there's like cooking, like the Anthony Bourdain had some like comics that he did. So like they're like
really?
Food kind of based.
He had Get Jiro?
Oh yeah, Get Jiro.
He had that ghost one.
Hungry Ghosts.
Hungry Ghosts.
I think it was called Hungry Ghosts.
There was 2 Get Jiro ones. I don't know if it's Hero or Get Jiro.
We're white, so it's Jiro.
Oh man, I got Mumra.
Oh, that's awesome.
Is that the Super 7?
Yeah. I don't even like Thundercats, but I fucking Mummy, man. I'll take a Mummy.
I didn't like Thundercats, but I did the Space Hawks. I think which was the one where it had like this big Legion of Doom. There were like 20 bad guys who were caught on a prison planet, and they all escaped. And then like that was Silverhawks, wasn't it? Or maybe it was. Yeah, I think so because it was space. It was either way. I liked all the villains. I love big groups of villains.
Yeah, Mumra or not Mumra. Thundercats was always like
you're
He-Man. I mean, He-Man's shitty.
You're
too,
CGIing out.
Oh yeah, it's not working. It's that green.
Hold it at an angle. Maybe that'll.
Anyway, it's my friend works for Super 7, so I have a ton of the reaction figures. This is like a specifically Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, they have. And I was turned into a toy cast. I just know because like I had a big shipment. But these things are fucking dope. Have you seen these, Tim?
Oh yeah.
The worst thing, like just for that, like, because normally I'll just open toys, like I don't fucking care. But like, I have this one and it's Tim.
Army of Darkness.
Oh, that's rad.
Hero
does he have the shotgun hand, or is it just a shotgun?
Just a shotgun. The accessory
side.
They did this one that's like Kirby.
Is that Celestial? What is that? Oh, that was from his like weird
the heavy metal
shit. Oh, that's pretty badass.
Wow.
Anyway,
does it glow under a black light?
No, it might. I don't know.
I was looking into.
It's not a toy.
I was looking into doing a blacklight print, and I found this company that does them. And they do like the regular blacklight printing, but they also do like the flocked, like.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I know. I sent in an inquiry to see how much they were, and they are outrageously, or not outrageously, they are ridiculously. They are out of my price range. I can't.
Well, that's what someone just recently did a blacklight one, and then my kids have some like celestial, I don't know, some like book about the universe, and if you read it with a black light, you can read it backwards. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, I don't have a black light, and so I bought one, and then I was where are we gonna put this black light so we can read the book and have a poster? So
no, that's the problem. Is in order for it to make any sense, you have to have like 2,000 people buy it, and 2,000 people don't own. There aren't 2,000 blacklights in America. Maybe 300, and now 300.
The blacklight serves no actual purpose. Like you can't use it in a room. Like you can't see shit. It's just like you're having a seizure. Well, I don't know. I don't know how to wrap things up. So
yeah, me either.
Because if I'll just keep playing with toys.
Yeah, Infidel is good, and everyone should read it.
Pull quote by Tim Murder.
Murder.
Yeah, no, great book. Great choice by the powers that be that moved the needle in that direction. I you know what? I've been doing this in our greatest comic book of all time shit. So, but if you, oh wait! Look at this shirt.
Oh, that's sick.
Isn't it? The print is so big. And
who did it? Is that Ed?
I got it off Wicked Tees.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm going to guess is out of Boston. But if you're still looking for some Halloween reading, may I recommend the the Clive Barker Hellraiser individual comics. Not so much that I'm a huge Clive Barker fan, but they have a lot of those, like, if you liked the sort of like the great painters of comics, Bill Sienkiewicz, Ken Williams, John J. Muth, Mike Chiarello, they are all over this book. I think these are two Sienkiewicz's. So each one is an anthology. They've got like 3 or 4 different stories, and then a couple like just like pinups like these. Usually about Cenobites, but then sometimes just like, you know, Tales from the Dark Side, dark stories. Beautifully illustrated. Check that out. I'll probably post that to my Twitter at the Villainist for Halloween week.
Yeah, I was trying to find one in reaching distance. I don't know. I think a good non-traditional horror. It's not really a horror. I was gonna say a pick would be like Berserk. Have you ever read Berserk?
I haven't.
So it's not like it's very much like a sword and sandals like Junji Ito. Like it's got like demons and like these really grotesque characters, and like the art is like there's like a shit ton of like blood and gore and violence, and like it's not working, but that's a good, like, it's, I think, again, for kind of like atmosphere, but or Liefeld's Snake Eyes is generally horrifying if you want to read something to scare you.
You mean sure to garner an award?
Yeah. You want a poll quote? I'll give you a poll quote. Yeah. I mean, you could use it. I could be like, I can't believe they published this book in 2020, which like sounds positive. But yeah, and we'll also, we should do like what's that? Are You Afraid of the Dark? We'll throw in
the powder into the fire.
Fire, yeah. I'll do this. I'll do it in an indoor room every. Yeah, we'll post. I think we had a little more time as we kind of adjust to doing this for our November pick. Give it. I think Twitter only like lets me do 5 days or 6 days or something for the poll to run, and then we usually do like 3 weeks after that or so to read. Which I was on top of my stuff this time, and I read Infidel that first week, and then 2 days ago I was like, I don't remember any of the characters' names, so I had to go read it again. So it pays to be lazy. Yeah, the general motto of Pages and Panels. So. Yeah, and we're on Pages and Panel Pages_panels. There's a Patreon. There's obviously a YouTube if you're watching this after it's recorded.
Don't get scared off by the word Patreon. The Patreon levels are very, like, I mean, I think honestly, after a year, it might be the price of a cup of coffee, like a pumpkin spice latte. I think it's like it's $1, right?
$1, so it's the price of a shitty cup of coffee. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, you can always go higher if you want to help pay for the valuable content that you.
Yeah, and pretty much just use it to pay for the site. Which, if I could figure out how to get the money from Patreon to that, one day I'm doing it. But yeah, and then Pages and Panels goes up every week. I don't think me and Tim set out for it to be a weekly show, but it has become a weekly show. And same with Greatest Comic Book of All Time. That's a little fluid in the day. It goes up just because we're usually coordinating around when me and Tim are recording, because we're trying to coordinate around multiple guests, or sometimes people from other countries, or directors in California. Really do it in the morning. Usually that's about every week. At least we try to at least get 4 a month. I think is the goal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's it. Jack does a great comic book. It's called Goon. Right?
Goon?
Goon.
Not to be confused with.
It's called Knife. Although I do want to do a time travel episode and call it Revolver. Yeah, so like when that happens, you were here first. Yeah, guncomic.com, but I try not to shill the book on here. Although, why the fuck not? I mean, yeah, you looking for a good comic? Come get mine.
Yeah. If you want good news coverage, you can go to comicbook.com or Tim's website.
Breeze into comics. What was that called?
Shoot the Breeze. Yeah, I didn't figure out what it was. I tried to figure it out.
Oh, so I looked it up. That was their name, and then they changed it to On Comic Ground. Another. Yeah.
Yeah. So where's it? It's Comics Pit.
Yeah, Comics Pit.
.com or his Twitter, where he's tied to it, so you see all those juicy details.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I want to tweet all these articles, but it's probably for the best that I do.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the smart thing. Again, I'll have to look into that because like it's not like anyone goes through later and looks through the Twitter and be like, "What is this guy posting?" But I think that's it for this month, boys and girls, and
boys and
goblins and goblins.
Yeah,
you guys have a happy Halloween.
You as well. I'm gonna be watching a wrestling live stream. So
thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm kind of bummed. It's a big day. But usually in LA they have a. Have you ever, Tim? You are a West Coaster. Have you ever been to the LA Halloween parade?
No, I haven't.
It's worth the trip up. It goes through West Hollywood, and it's like I don't know, like 50,000 people. It's a ton, but like because it's all these like SFX nerds and like they come all the way down from Van Nuys, and they've got their like animatronic like smoke comes out of them. Like they're plus they because it's West Hollywood. Then you also have these sort of like crazy drag queens. So like it's the costumes on display are really top notch, the best in the world. I used to live on the East Coast. In Boston, and when I got to Boston, I was like, "Oh, hey, do you guys like go to Salem for Halloween? Like, I bet Halloween that's like their Mardi Gras." And everyone would be like, "No, man, no, it's crazy." And then I went one year, and it's not crazy. Like, it's super fun. Like the whole town, like it's not a big city, but like the whole city sort of blocks itself off. They've got like Hocus Pocus playing on a wall. Like there's a lot of great costumes. There's not a lot of places to drink, but that's good because you don't have as many people like peeing in the streets. So it's Salem fun. But as fun as Salem is, I have to say the West Hollywood LA parade is slightly more my jam.
Okay.
Yeah. Salem's cool. I would go there a bunch on Halloween. Not Halloween, around
right.
that time. And then we would do like the ghost tours and stuff. And then they would just like disappoint you and tell you most of the witch murders didn't actually happen in Salem.
2 miles down the road.
Yeah, why the fuck am I here then? What are we doing? All right, we'll end this broadcast. I don't know what that does. Boop. No, I didn't do it.